Good morning. It's been a bit since we've done a mugs and morning. I guess it's morning, 10 a.m. Hello, Catherine. I saw you just joined. I'll give you a second to request, and then we'll get rolling. Hello, neighborhood OT. We're just getting everyone logged on.
Hi.
Hello, Catherine. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I always love meeting my guests for the first time, like in real time, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm surprised I made it on. Technology is not my friend.
No,
So,
that was great. It was seamless. Kudos to you. There's your win for the day.
yeah.
I love it. So, yeah, like I mentioned, I have not met Catherine yet at all. We were actually connected through a really dear friend of mine, Sarah, who is also a family therapist. So, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you guys work together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Worked at Chapter Page. She's incredible.
I
So,
know, I know. One day we'll get her on here, but I'm so grateful that she's connected me with you, and
yeah.
I'm going to be learning with everyone that's listening. So, as per usual, I have my questions on my computer over here, so if I'm looking side to side, that's why. I promise I'm listening. So let's just get started. Let's start with you sharing, your connection to the neurodiversity community and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I am an LPC. I'm a registered play therapist, an advanced certified autism specialist, and an aunt play therapist. And so I got started in the neurodivergent community because I got blessed with two neurodivergent children. Both of my children have autism, and my husband has autism. So I live and breathe autism all day long. Yeah.
Okay. How old are your kids, if you don't mind me asking?
7 going on 37. I'm
Sorry.
a 5-year-old. Yeah. So I
Oh,
originally started, I was going to work with veterans and couples. And then when my
okay.
kid got diagnosed at 2.5,
Hmm.
um, I realized I didn't understand anything anyone was talking about.
It's a
And so
lot.
I dove in as a mom. And then I realized, oh, I wonder how many other parents don't understand this. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I was looking at your website and just reading it and knowing that there's a resource out there for families, right? For someone to lean into when they get a diagnosis and then all these big terms are thrown at them and then they're like, okay, you're going to start with OT, PT, speech and this and it's like, ah. So,
Yeah. I try to translate it into common terms for them.
mhm.
The moment your child gets diagnosed, all the things you think you wanted for your kid go away, but it's because you don't realize there's all these other amazing things they're going to do. And so I
Mm,
parents kind of see that side.
yeah. Oh, I love that perspective. It's
Yeah.
so true. So many families that I've spoken to about their process of that initial diagnosis, right, is exactly that like just like drop off of any future plans
Yeah.
that then turns into this panic, right? So having someone to lean into and just talk to and process through that, and someone who has that mindset like you're sharing of,
Yeah.
maybe plans look a little different, but there's still all these potential opportunities, right, and avenues to go down. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I get to walk with them both as a clinician, but then as somebody who's gone through it. And I get to
yes.
tell them, had my son been who I thought he was going to be, I'd have missed out. And
Yeah.
that's the part I get to share with them.
Oh, I love that perspective. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah, I there's something I've definitely learned hugely through my work is that there's no connection stronger than a parent to parent connection, right? Of going through it. You have to live it. And as I consider myself and those I work with consider me as an ally, an autistic ally.
Yeah.
And there's only so much I could offer in that sense, right? Like I come in with that very scientific lens and supportive lens and mental health lens, but nothing will ever be, being a parent. So thank you for the work you do. Um, so I know you had mentioned it earlier, but your organization is called Chapter and Page, correct?
Chapter and page counseling. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you promote under that organization? There's a lot of times where kind of old school thinking in this lens could kind of cloud the perspective of the professional the parents are coming to see support with. So how do you promote that it's a safe space, and like what differentiates you from some of the other workers?
Yeah. I think first, just my perspective on it, but then we really try to be inclusive in our environment. And I think that's something that through a lot of counseling programs, they don't talk about. I mean, they talk about it some, but like just your actual room. So we have the ability to turn lights up, turn lights down, smells off, smells on. We also have headphones. We have a room that's the playroom, but then you can shut the door so it's not overwhelming. And then we have carpet, textures. We even have a beanbag that they can sit on their lap that you can make hot and cold, and you can draw on it with water. So
Ooh.
we do sand tray, virtual sand tray, bean tray. So we cater to them versus them catering to us, because I always tell my clients and their families, I can go in their world. It is harder for them to come in mine. So why would I ask them?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's from more recently and earlier, it's been let's fit these individuals into our neurotypical world. And why should it be that way, right? Why can't we all just be aware of neurodiversity and that it's a spectrum, right? And that there's accommodations that everyone needs in different ways and different levels. So I love that. I've never heard of something that changes temperature on the lap. So we're going to have to connect on the side and get links.
It's a super cool company that did it. But then I also, especially when I have older kids or even parents, I will actually pull up a brain, a neurotypical brain and an autistic brain, and show them and be like, do you know what your mind can do? And kids that especially are in that negative feedback loop at school, right? I'm bad, I'm broken, I'm not right.
Mhm.
And do you know that Fender guitars are the way they are because they have a neurodivergency person working there? Like these things that you can do, I can't do. I'm boring, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And highlight on those strengths,
Yeah,
right? I was recently talking to someone, I forget in what context, but we were talking about the whole terminology of strengths-based approach, right? And I think a lot of us are starting to be able to identify strengths, right?
right.
But it goes beyond that. What do we do with those strengths? It's different to say, Johnny is really great with letters and numbers, or is really good with, algorithms, whatever it is. But okay, now how do we take that strength and, build a hobby, an interest, fulfill like an intrinsic fulfillment with it?
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
love that you connect the Fender piece of it, right? Because that individual,
Yeah.
music and creation,
Well,
that's awesome.
hyperfixations, they get a really bad rap, right?
Mhm.
But I can learn almost anything about a kid through a hyperfixation because
Yeah.
they'll talk. And if I can get you talking, then you're willing to open up to me. And then I'm interested. And then you're teaching me and I'm learning and you're growing. And then that's communication skills. That's how far do we fit from each other. Like I can do a whole bunch
Yeah.
through a
Yeah.
hyperfixation.
Yeah, exactly. Finding that like in essentially and then building off of it.
Yeah.
I thought well, a few things came to mind. I will, let me stick on the environment and then I have another follow-up question. But I love the idea of having all these sensory modifications, right? And making it a very safe space and the individuals and their families coming into that space knowing that.
Yeah.
I also really love to highlight, like, before anyone even works with me, I kind of set this blanket of it's okay for dysregulation to happen, right? Like, we all lose it sometimes, and you don't have to come in and be completely composed and perfect, right? So I always like to remind that, like, dysregulation is okay, and also for the parents, right? Because as a parent, you want your child to not be dysregulated, of course, right? You want them to feel safe and calm. However, a lot of times that may manifest to the sense of like, okay, let's leave this space, or this is too much. Let's just like ditch out, right? It's a survival mechanism of the parents.
Yeah.
So I like to set that blanket term of like, I am in this with you. It is okay to be dysregulated. I am here with you through that process so we could get to the other side, right? And instead of it being like a knee-jerk reaction to leave the scenario, it's that growth mindset of we can do this together. You like the more you do it, the easier it becomes. So I think in order to do that, in order to support someone through regulation, you need a safe space, like you're saying, you
Yeah.
know? So I love that. And then, oh, my follow-up question was, um, going off of those like really specific tasks, interests,
Mhm.
have you worked with the non-speaking population at all?
Yeah, I
Okay.
have. I think that people equate intelligence and speaking to be the same thing, and that's obviously not true. Some of the
Mhm.
funniest pranks I've ever been pulled on me are from non-speaking kiddos.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's that integration, right? In a sand tray, bean tray, like I don't need words, right?
Hmm.
Not in the traditional sense, I think is the important piece to that. And I talk to parents about getting out of this traditional mindset of
Hmm.
what it should be or should do or how they should regulate or what it should look like. And I invite them to be in this better place where we can be individuals.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think sometimes someone may look at therapy or counseling, right, as this like talk therapy. So if I don't have spoken words, it's not for me or it's not for my child. So I did want to highlight that not only is it for people who do have spoken language, it's also for people that may not have any spoken language or access to it, right? And then I work with the whole community that uses all different types of AAC, high tech, letterboards, typing, spelling, all of that. So it's for everyone is what I'm highlighting, right? Like you don't need to have spoken language.
From PECs to the LAMP system, right? We
Yeah.
can work with anybody. And truly, as you were talking about earlier, it's about also helping the parent regulate, right? Because there's a lot of societal pressure on parents
Hmm.
and there's a lot of judgment
Yeah.
for autistic parents. And so part of being an OT play therapist is we invite the parent into our sessions to be a change agent with us, right? I'm with a child an hour a week, you're with them forever. So
Yep.
I want to give you the skills. I want to show you how to do this, help you regulate, help them regulate, and then that's how you help the whole family unit.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is exactly what we say within our OT work too, right? There's only so much that change can happen within that session per week. And it's all about those other hours. And co-regulation is huge, right? It kind of trickles down. So um, it's a whole family approach, siblings, parents, nannies, aunts, whoever you could get in there, come on down, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll have anybody in my room for sure.
Yeah, I love it. And you know what? I should have mentioned this at the start. You are based in Arizona,
Yeah, Phoenix.
correct?
Yeah.
Yes. And then you do virtual as well?
Yeah, we
Okay.
do virtual. We're virtual in California and in Tennessee.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. Are you from
I am.
Tennessee?
Yeah, you can hear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I loved it. I was like, wait, this isn't an Arizona accent, but I love it. Cool. So all the different connections. Great. All right. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit because you also have a whole nother world. So we read that you work as a professor at Grand Canyon University Behavioral Science Department with a new promotion. Woo! Celebrate from adjunct to full time. Congrats.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. What brought you there, and how do you continue your advocacy work within that realm?
I really feel like I was led here. Obviously, Grand Canyon University is a Christian university. I feel like God led me to it.
Mhm.
I started an IA, which is kind of like a graduate assistant, and then an adjunct position became available, and then a full-time position became available. So it was really,
Nice.
and what I love about it is I probably am one of the only people that has worked with this population. And so when we go through all of the scenarios, I talk about, okay, but from a neurodivergent perspective, this is what you could do, right? And so it's the first time most of them have ever thought about, oh, I could work with that population. Yeah, you're super qualified to do that. Let's do that.
Yes.
Yeah,
I can't believe that you're the first and only, right? I
yeah,
mean, in some sense I can, but when you're so in this world, it's like, really? Like
yeah,
when you step out of it, it really is kind of mind-blowing how much learning and growth still needs to happen. And
yeah,
I'm so grateful that you're doing that. And it's, I'm reading a book, it's called Leadership,
yeah,
and it's all about how as a leader in any realm, right, you are, instead of leading them, you are taking them with you, right? It's like we're all going together, walk alongside me. So, and the impact you could have by influencing individuals in that way versus like, just follow me, right?
yeah,
Is huge. So that's exactly what you're doing, multiplying, right? The work that you do and the learning that you've had, and then getting it to reach even further than you could as one individual.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for that work. Um, let's see. There's a part two for this question.
Okay.
Um, do you find, like, what are your best tools and strategies for closing that gap of that perspective, right? You said that they may not realize they could work with this population, or that there's even a need in this population. Are there some strategies or phrases, learning experiences that you do?
Yeah, so I'm very hands-on as a professor, and so I will bring in like a whole play kit. And I'll bring in a bean tray and a sand tray, and I will actually have them test different textures. And what's so interesting is people have sensory issues and they don't realize it because they have avoided it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so then I'm like, okay, well, if you don't like it, right, what could you do different? And I just invite them to think about the differences,
Mm-hmm.
small little shifts, right? And then I bring in examples of, okay, so if we're doing this for a neurotypical person, what would you do for a neurodivergent person? And
Mm-hmm.
first, what is neurodivergency? Because it's a big term and there's so many things underneath it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for highlighting that the neurodivergent umbrella is a very large umbrella, right? And I love how you make it experiential.
Yeah.
I am 100% that way with parents as well, in the sense of experiencing sensory overwhelm or sensory underwhelm, right? Like needing more of it, or the brain body disconnect. Like, how do we simulate that, right, in a small, minuscule
Right.
way for them to understand what their neurodivergent child might be going through? So,
The thing that I do for parents, and this works
mhm,
super well, is especially when the kid's super good at video games, I have the parent play a video game with their kid. And the parent can, like, they can barely look up. And I'm like,
yes.
okay, so that's innate to them. Do you see how much better they are? So imagine all the times you pressure them to talk to somebody, or you're standing too close, and it gives them this immediate, oh,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
they're not badgering you. They're not telling you how come you don't understand this. And so it's very impactful for them.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's different to hear it over and over, right? And in
Yeah.
different terms, but to have that experience of like, wow, that was really hard. And he or she's doing it seamless over there, you know? I also equate a lot of times, like accessing our language could be really hard.
Yeah.
So I work with a lot of like non-reliable or minimally speaking individuals. And I simulate, I'm like, when was the last time you were like in an argument with a spouse or a friend, and your like nervous system was all the way up
Yeah.
here, and you're trying to get your words out and you're just like spewing random things. And it's like, I can't get out what I'm really thinking because your brain is this like storm, right?
Yeah.
So I really like the idea of finding something that their child is really great at that could be challenging for them, and then say, go do that, like go try that, you know? So I know for sure I could not do video games.
Oh,
I was that kid that like, yeah, had their tongue out, like looking around the corner.
terrible. And the kiddos, we do video game therapy as well. And the kiddos are like, you're so bad at this. And I'm like, I know, but like, I'm over here trying. Like, don't judge me.
Yeah, right. I'm trying. Growth mindset. I'm going to keep trying until I get better. Oh, I love it. I kind of want to ask a question off the script. Do your children have any like main areas of interest, and have you kind of put yourself in the scenario that
Yeah,
is similar to the ones for your parents that you help?
absolutely. So for some reason, and I don't know why, my oldest son is like very hyper fixated on skydiving. Like he really wants, I don't know why, he would like learn about it on like YouTube, and then like
Okay.
got super high. And I, being a parent, right, because I have to take my therapist hat on and put mom hat on. And so I was like, there's no way he can do it. Like, it's going to be way too intense. Like, there's no way. And I thought, you know what? Why limit him? Why am I
Mm-hmm.
doing that? That's not fair. So I took him to an indoor skydiving. Loved it. No problem. Does it. Goes every week. And I don't know. Like, kids just really remind you sometimes that, like, don't limit them. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Thought he'll have a sensory meltdown. There's no way. Loved it. No
Wow.
at all. And I was like, what? Uh,
Yeah, that's so funny that you bring that up. My husband and I do like a date night once a month,
yeah.
and he wanted me to go indoor skydiving, and I was like, no way! Like, I'm not getting that tube. I can
I would
like,
never do it.
yeah,
And he's just like so into it. Watches videos, does all these things, practices at home. And like, and again, that's what I always tell parents, like, we will get in their way. They won't get in our way. Right.
yeah,
As a parent, sometimes you have to like stop yourself from overprotection. And it's hard because the world's really cruel. Right.
mhm,
And I
yeah,
And yeah, does he get in there and he sometimes flaps because he gets really excited? Sure does, and it's
Yeah,
great.
exactly. And he's showing his enjoyment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think it was our last Mugs and Morning. We had another professional on, a dear friend of mine. She does slacklining. She does similar work to you. She is a BCBA, and she's kind of branched out and is supportive through 504 plans and kind of helping the family through the process. But she, like in her personal life, she does slacklining, and I told her, I was like, no way, like high slacklining over these cliffs. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Hold on, I'm going to take a brief intermission. It is you, Otto. I didn't know who was logged on to the mod squad, but wow, that sounds like Timjin and Otto are planning to go skydiving as well.
So brave. I couldn't do it. I'm
Yeah.
terrified.
Dude, you guys have to post that. Like, take some footage, post it on Instagram. I'm going to be over here cheering you on. That's awesome. And I would love to know the sensory side of it, right? And how that feels on the skin and the vestibular system and just all of it. It's probably thrilling.
It
So,
really is. Yeah, and I thought for sure sensory meltdown, there's no way, and
yeah.
shocked me. Again, I think that's the thing I tell parents, like, they'll tell you what they can handle, right? Sometimes you have to be aware. You have to, like, kind of monitor the environment, obviously, but if they want to try it, let them try it.
Yeah. I love it. I'm going to loop back to the Olivia story. She was sharing that in her slacklining, her like kind of everything else fizzles away, right? Because you can't focus on anything else but what's happening in that moment, right? You have to be so present and so focused. So I'm curious if that's a piece for your son. And then Timjin and Otto, you guys are going to have to let me know. Timjin did it for his birthday and he wants to go again. And I said, I'm in. I love it.
I can't. He's
Yeah.
terrible. Yeah, he wants me to go with him, and I'm like, I'm a baby. I can't.
Otto, you're a great wingman, literally and figuratively, right? Awesome. I'm so happy I asked that question. What a great discussion. Cool. Um, so our last question is always about, hold on, another one came through. Typer takeover in the skies. Yes. Oh, I think you guys should try it. I don't know if they would let you, but holding a letterboard in your hand while skydiving. How epic would that be? Just saying. If you get in trouble, it wasn't my idea, though. All right, focus, Erin. We always like to ask, so our big thing is rising and shining as your best self, right? Not conforming to what society expects you to be, but just like finding that inner best self. So what are some things that you do as an individual and maybe as a family with your children and husband?
Um, I think I'm a planner, right? So like if I have a plan, it makes me feel more confident, right? But then I also have to be really flexible because I have two neurodivergent children and a neurodivergent husband, so
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't happen. But so I really try to for me it's like prayer internally, like okay, it didn't work out. That's fine. There's a reason it didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of it being a problem, I always try to say like, okay, there's a reason that God didn't let this happen. So for me, that really helps.
Yeah.
Uh, Sleep would be nice, but hopefully when my children are like 30, I'll get sleep.
For now, there's coffee.
For now there's coffee. That's all I can get. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love that like self-affirmation.
Yeah.
Uh, every year I give myself like a word to come back to, a kind of grounding force. And this year it's trust. And it aligns very much with that when there's moments of like me trying to control a situation or like you're saying, I'm very plan-based too. Like I like to know what's happening.
Oh, I love a plan. It's
Yeah.
so good.
So yeah, anytime that a plan doesn't go the way it goes and in the work that I do, not only with the neurodivergent community, but as a business owner, right? You understand that there's just times where you think things are going to go a certain way and it doesn't. So it's
Yeah.
just stepping back and saying like, just trust that this is what was supposed to happen and that the next good thing's coming, right? So I love that. And thank you for sharing because I think a lot of times I get answers for that as an external thing, right? Like I go surfing or, these things that we do. but there's also the, like, how do we talk to ourselves in our mind, which is very in line with the work you do. So that was perfect.
Yeah, it's so funny. They need a hype man that lives in their head to tell the voices to, stop talking to
Yeah.
them, right? Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. A little hype man in there to kind of negate that, like, inner critic
Yeah,
thoughts and all of that.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. All right, cool. I want to kind of open the floor for anything else you want to share. Let us know where we could learn about you. I know you mentioned your name, but maybe if you want to share the website.
Yeah, the website is chapterandpagecounseling.com. We're located in Phoenix, Arizona. I now have an Instagram. I'm going to try to figure that out.
It looks great, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. I think probably the only other thing I would highlight is neurodivergency and neurotypical couples counseling.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so it's definitely something that you can do. And such an interesting process to let people in on the other person's mind and how it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Finding these okay, so I know that that's what you're saying and what you need, but how do you communicate that effectively, right? Especially when people are like, well, you didn't say it. And it's like, well, shouldn't have to. Unfortunately, you might have to, right? And that's okay, right? And so we also do that, and that's been really interesting process to do as well.
I love that. I don't think I've met anyone else that has shared that as a support, and that is so true. Yeah, there's a few families that I work with that could really benefit from that. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. There's an awesome comment that I kind of want to end on from Otto.
I love it.
Can we have t-shirts with this quote on it? I'll be the first purchaser from Otto's Mottos. Every caterpillar will become a butterfly, but every butterfly has an individual set of wings.
Love that.
So beautiful and so true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Catherine, for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Of course. I hope one day when I'm out in Arizona, I could come meet you in person and check out some of your sensory tools and just zen out.
Yeah, I'll have Sarah take a photo and send that to you so you can see where it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
please do. Awesome. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their Friday and has a beautiful weekend.
Bye.
Bye-bye.